everyone, I'm Luke Hector and you're watching The Broken Meeple. This is a YouTube channel about board games where I give reviews, top 10s and my honest opinions, regardless of the consequences. We'll get on with the show in just a minute, but first a quick word from my sponsor. As a fellow gamer, you'll understand this is unacceptable. The solution? Head down to my new sponsor, KIENDA.co.uk. KIENDA stocks many of the hot new releases as well as some old hidden gems. Free delivery on orders over £30, further discounts on bulk purchases, and even 5% of your spending refunded back to you as points to be used for further discounts down the line. If you use the referral link in the description below and sign up for a new account, you'll get 5% discount on your first order over £60. So let's make gaps in your collection a thing of the past. Get down to KIENDA and start saving today. Thank you for listening and enjoy the rest of the video.
Get on with it.
So on today's show, thanks to KIENDA, who have sponsored me with a review copy for this particular title, Planet Unknown. Man, was I trying to get this played for a long time. I mean, the amount of buzz I was seeing for this game from reviews and from people that I knew and seeing it played at my Portsmouth club, I was like, I want to try this game. But I didn't want to jump in on the Kickstarter because I've been trying to hold back on those, and it kind of like came out as a Kickstarter bundle and then sold out immediately, and all of a sudden we've now got the retail box, which again keeps selling out pretty quickly, especially as it's been nominated for a Kenner Spiel Award, so that's a big deal. Naturally everybody's trying to hunt this game down, and so I was keen to try it even though I've not heard of Adam's Apple Games, and it's like, oh okay, this is brand new, this will be interesting, will it work, will it not? But it's got mechanics that I do enjoy. The question is, are they worth it, and have we seen it all before? Planet Unknown is a polyomino space game, so put the box the right way up, that might help. Essentially, you have this giant Lazy Susan contraption in the middle of the table, and we'll get onto components in a minute, but essentially this spins round and you get to select the tiles based on where your station is, and again based on number of players. You have a specific faction board with tracks that you level up resources on and can give you special tech bonuses and abilities, but you also then have a map, which can either be a generic map, or it could be an asymmetric map, which could be all sorts of things, like having a chasm in the middle to being entirely encased by water. That was quite a fun one the other day. And, you know, having weird electric currents. You know, they've got all sorts of different weird and wonderful effects. So how does the game work? Well, with this Lazy Susan thing in the middle, you choose which station you want, in a multiplayer game this is, and say, you know what, I could use this tile here. Everybody else simultaneously picks from the pair of options that they have and decides which tile they want. They then place it on their map subject to the usual placement restrictions you see in every one of these games. Start at the perimeter and then place adjacent to one you've already done, not diagonal, can't overlap the grid, can't go overlapping a tile, you know, all the stuff we've seen. What the terrain tiles do is that they add resources to your technology tracks here, of which you've got different colors for black, blue, red, green, and grey, I think, grey, white, something like that. And basically, as these level up, not only do they score you more points, but they get you various abilities, like special bonus cards, green forest tiles that you can place to fill up gaps, you know, new technologies, and you can play normal mode, or you can play asymmetric mode, where you have a unique set of tracks and text for yourself, as well as having the combination of having that with a unique map for yourself. That can lead to some pretty decent combos there. Now, in terms of components, gotta say, very impressed. For the price you pay for this game, which I think is somewhere within the £50 to £60 mark, which is not the cheapest thing for a game, you still get quite a bit in this box. I mean, firstly, this is really cool. It works, it's fine. Yes, a couple of tiles may fall off in the box if you jiggle it around too much. That's a slight downer, but honestly, for something that works as well as this is pretty impressive for a polyomino game to have. I mean, imagine if Baron Park had something like this and made that one a quicker one to set up. And you know what I mean when I talk about Baron Park. But on top of that, you've got a lot of these different, you know, what have you got here? You've got wooden pieces, you've got big chunky plastic rover pieces, and you move these around the map to collect things like meteorites that fall down and life pods for more points. But then you've also got the cards themselves. And in terms of the actual boards, I'm going to have to tip the box, it's the only way it's going to work. Here we go. Put that on the floor. You've got a lot of these boards. This game's got a decent amount of variety in the box for the money that you are spending on it, as well as good spacey artwork and clear to follow tiles. So component-wise, pretty solid. Although, not happy that you made variety in the game a Kickstarter exclusive. I don't approve of that.
Merchandising.
You've got a decent amount of variety in this box. I think 6 different maps and 6 different technology boards. Great. The rulebook, though, at the back has rules for another, like 6 of these, I think, another 6 of each of technology tiles, corporation, sorry, and asymmetric planets. I don't like being told and reminded of what I don't have, okay? You know, why were they not in the game? If you want to add another $5 to the game but give me 12 planets and 12 boards, that would be fantastic. But I don't approve of Kickstarter exclusives being variety for the game. That sort of thing is important enough to put in your box. You want to upgrade the components? Fine. This is the retail copy of the game, and I think the components are decent for a retail copy. You want to upgrade those? Fine. You want to do linen finish rulebook? Fine. You want to make this nice and shiny and painted? Fine. But actual gameplay additions should not really be Kickstarter exclusives. It's not a practice I'm a fan of, but I digress. I'm probably getting ahead of myself there. You know, in terms of the gameplay, if you've played a polyomino game before, you've kind of seen this stuff before as well. I mean, I find polyomino games quite fun. The idea that you go, right, I'll put the piece there. Now, this one could fit nicely in there. Oh, I blocked myself up. Hang on. Wait. I need this tile. Right, okay, cool. We can put that in there. And you're trying to pair the different resource tiles together because you're trying to either sometimes create big groups of them, or you just want to level up specific tracks. So you need, I need a green and a red. Is there a green and a red combo there? No, but if I use the yellow and the red, close enough, I can deal with that. Okay, whee! And yeah, it's impossible not to sort of spin this and go whee at times. It just kind of happens. Or maybe that's just me, I don't know.
No, sir. I didn't see you playing with your dolls again. Good!
I like a lot of the aspects of this game from a gameplay perspective. You know, the different tracks are all useful. I haven't played it enough to notice if there's an imbalance with some of the technology tracks or the planets. They've got different complexity ratings that are listed on there, but honestly, I think that the combinations are quite vast for a retail copy, that I haven't really noticed one that's broken per se, but you know, you'd have to play it a million times for that to be a problem. Here's where the game falters a little bit though. The player scaling for this doesn't quite work, because this is a game that supposedly takes 70 minutes to play. You're looking at more 90 minutes with more players, because yes, it's simultaneous, but you're only as fast as your lowest common denominator, and the more players you add, the more time that's added. So you are definitely looking at a 90-minute affair for this. It could drag on past that if you've got some AP players who are waiting to sort of go, hang on, I need to, can I look at the tile first and check it fits before I get it on my board?
No! God, please, no! No!
But the main problem with player scaling is that the other players in the game don't do jack for you. There's no reason they're there. All you have is a set of objective cards, which essentially you play out between your neighbours as a common objective. So here we go. Have the largest single area of tech terrain, the single largest water, single largest forest, largest energy, whatever, rinse, repeat. Have the most unique technologies, or have the least water resources, whatever. They're mostly concerned about what type of terrain you've built. You have one between you and each neighbour. That is it. That is the entire amount of multiplayer interaction in this game. A little objective, what the hell? It's like, that is it. You know, because the whole selection of the thing here, you might think, well, hang on, what if you select a tile that you know others can't use? If you have the cognitive power and the eyesight to be able to look at 4 or 5 other boards that are this big, okay, this big, with tiles all over it and their technology tracks, and deduce what piece they're going to want from all of those in a mass multiplayer game, then kudos to you. You are a friggin' genius, alright? Most of us aren't. So the whole concept of choosing a thing here is literally for yourself only. I don't care what the other players do. I want a long straight. This is what I want. If he gets a T, he gets an L, he gets a tiny little one there, I honestly don't care. And that's the problem. Yes, you can play this with 6 players, but there's no real reason why you would, because it just adds time.
Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
You think, alright, well, I'll just play this 2 players then. The problem is, well, I say it's a problem, it depends on your perspective. In a multiplayer game, you can select whichever tile you like. In a 2-player game, though, it rotates one each time. So you plan ahead as to which tiles you like. That I kind of like more though, when I think about it, because in multiplayer it's random what tiles you get, and in 6 players it's just a luck fest. You know, 1 every 6 turns I get to pick the tile I want. The other 5 turns I might as well just close my eyes and go, you know, whatever. There you go, that's my tile. I could do that myself. I don't need 5 other players at the table to simulate that level of randomness. So at least with 2 players, you know what tiles are coming, so you can plan ahead for them. And in solo mode, which honestly is pretty much the main way I'll play this game, it works in a similar fashion. You have an event deck which you can add as a multiplayer variant, but frankly I don't see the point in adding it as a multiplayer variant. It's got green alert, yellow alert and red alert cards that go up in scale of how bad they are. You construct this deck which augments your target score for the game, and then you pretty much play the exact same game you did before with a technology track, a planet, and this, and it rotates 1 each turn so you know what tiles are coming up. So it's pretty much a 2-player game with 1 less player and an event deck. That's essentially what it is. You know, beat the target score and win. It's not beat your own score, thankfully. But solo just feels like the way I want to play it, because I get the fun aspect. And I know I've ragged on it a little bit for the last like 5 odd minutes, but the gameplay itself is still fun. I think this is a really cool, engaging, polyomino puzzle, and partially it's because of the wide variety of tile shapes you've got and these technology tracks. But I think one of the main aspects is just because I do find these asymmetric planets good fun. I mean, I will never play the basic planet. I'll give it to someone that I'm teaching the game to and ask if they want to use it. But honestly, I'm taking a asymmetric planet every single time. I want to try Persephone, and next time I want to try Petra, next time I want the water planet, and they do create really different things. I mean, Gaia, for example, wants you to pick up life pods because they're worth more points potentially to you on here. But the last game I played this one. The whole planet is encased in water. You have to place water tiles like on water entirely in order to get the resource, or sorry, it has to be touching water. But here you can't do that. You have to place them on solid water or not. They can't overlap ground. And so because you've got all these water spaces on there, you're kind of thinking, well, okay, when do I build on the land, and do I maximize water, or do I decide I'm not too fussed? They create vastly different playstyles, which is why I'm still angry that they put 6 of them as Kickstarter exclusive. Yes, I've heard that they are going to sell them as separate retail packs later, but that's a kind of screw you, give me money type approach, which I'm not a fan of. If you'd have put 12 of each of these in the game for that £60 price point, oh my word, I'd have been singing the praises of this from a variety standpoint. That being said, there is still a good amount of variety here for the £60, but there could have been more. The fact that there could have been more and they chose to make it exclusive just irks me a bit. It's not something I want to see other publishers start doing, okay? Cosmetics are good for exclusives. Actual gameplay editions aren't. Although don't start sticking random untested expansion content in there. Don't do that. Couple other little aspects to mention. The rulebook is pretty clear. I mean, it's a nice big size rulebook. It's got a decent amount of pictorial examples, and text is not too small. I didn't find it too difficult to read this. I understood the game from one read through of this, and I was able to teach it without too much trouble. And you do have a good glossary of terms on the back, although again, reference card per player would be preferable, but this game is not too complicated, so this should be enough. I can sort of let it slide a bit in this one. But there is one little annoying aspect with the stations part of it, because I said that you pick tiles from which station is in front of you. How do you know which station is in front of you? This has a very big table presence. It is a huge table hog when you've got multiples of these and these next to everybody, and this in the middle. Trust me, this is going to take up a lot of space on your table. But when you have different numbers of players, where do you sit around this thing? You essentially have a little arrow that you'd use. That's it. A cardboard arrow is the only way I can tell you that this is the station I want. If that arrow shifts at any point though, every time somebody spins it and goes, all right, this is the tile I want, inevitably they will stop it in such a way that somebody is going to ask, well, is it the left one or the right one? Because now the arrow is literally pointing in between because somebody wasn't precise with their alignment. That gets annoying very quickly, particularly in games of 3, 4, 5, well, 4 players if you're sat perfectly around this thing is fine. 3 players though, 5 players, those are numbers that are pretty screwy with this whole laser Susan, and you're going to get that said a lot. I'm going to be like, alright, which tile am I picking? Left or right? Thank you. That just gets irritating a lot. This little cardboard token is not enough. It would have been nice if they kind of separated them out a little bit clearer on here. I mean, I don't think you could have made this any bigger. I don't think that would have been a solution, but it's just, One of those annoyances you have to worry about with multiplayer. Again, it's another cross on the list of why I would want to play this multiplayer. If the idea is, cool, I want to play a game with lots of friends and this one can cater for that many, there are other games that will cater for a lot of players and yet be quicker and smoother. I mean, do I need to go back to Seven Wonders? Yes, it's not polyomino, but that works. But then I could also play something like Alice's Garden. You know, it's one of my favourite polyomino games at the moment. 20 minutes, the game is done. I can play it with 4 players and it works just fine at 4 players. I don't often need 5 or 6, and if I do end up with 6 players, typically I'm splitting into 2 groups of 3 anyway, but I get that not every group works in that fashion. So overall, I do enjoy the gameplay of this a lot. You know, this is a really good, fun game. As much as I've ragged on the player scaling aspect, leveling up the tracks, trying out the different planets, trying to balance out what you're going to do with these polyominoes, especially in a solo mode, is really cool. And I think that's why you've got to be mindful of who you're playing this with. For me, I'm giving Planet Unknown, from my perspective, an 8 out of 10. It is a great game despite the flaws I've mentioned, but it is an 8 out of 10 if you're prepared to play this solo. If solo gaming is not your thing and you only intend to play this with 3+ players, that rating is going to creep down at max a 7, possibly even a 6 out of 10. In fact, I would definitely give this a lower rating if you start putting 5 or 6 players in this. So, you know, this is an 8 for me because I can play it solo, which is my preferred way to play it. I'll play this with 3 players. 3 players is not too bad, but then again, you've got the randomness of the multiplayer selection, but at least it's a bit easier to look at 2 other maps and see what they want rather than 5. But I just don't see any point in going above 3 players for this at all. And of course, the fact that the tile selection is essentially random, you know, you add more players, you just add more randomness. But all that aside, still impressed with the price of the box for what you're getting in the retail edition, the amount of variety that's in here, despite that Kickstarter annoyance. There's still a lot of good things to say about this game. Just bearing in mind how many you're going to play this with. Make that your decision for wanting this game for yourself. So that's it for me on this episode of The Broken Meeple. If you like what you see, then please remember, thumb it up on YouTube and thumb it up on Board Game Geek when the review goes live. Get your comments down below. What do you think about the game? Do you not care about the player count? What are the maps that I haven't been able to play, like those Kickstarter exclusive maps? Are they any good? I don't know, you're telling me what I can't have for now, but still, I'd like to know your thoughts on the game itself, any broken combos, that kind of thing. Let me know your thoughts. But until next time, you can check out more content on the show, including other reviews I'm doing recently, including Moon from Sinister Fish Games and Mindbug from Nerd Lab Games. Check out those 2 when they go live. I don't know what order I'll do the 3 of them in, but by all means, just catch them when they do. Until next time, regardless of how much you're going to get obsessed with wanting to spin this loads, it's still only a game. Bye for now.